Here are the 3 red flags that you must never ignore. I don't care how much you like them. I don't care how much chemistry you think you have with this guy. If you see these red flags, I need you to get out of the situation. Now, I have to caution you, I do not know how long this video will be out for, because a lot of people, they do not want this information out there. So I need you to pay attention carefully. Now, I want to acknowledge, I'm sure you've seen a bunch of other red flag videos. You've seen the 17 different red flags you must ignore. You might be thinking, do I need to become the red flag accountant? Do I need to add up all of these with my abacus and be like, should I get out or should I not? Now, I want to make this so simple. I'm going to break it down into 3 different categories that will help you quickly differentiate whether you're on a date with a good guy or a literal psychopath. And identifying these categories will save you so much time and potentially years of therapy. Now, here's what's really disturbing. A lot of people I work with, they see these red flags early on and they think, oh, I'm smart enough, I can ignore them. Or, hey, it's not so bad. Or maybe I'm just misinterpreting the situation. But I need you to pay specific attention. And I will also give you a bonus 4th category that is pure psychological warfare that only serious manipulators, serious narcissists will use on you. Let's go into category number 1. And this is such an important category because it will show you who he is when nobody is watching. When that mask slips off faster than he pretends to care about your horoscopes. And truthfully, not a lot of guys care. So if a guy knows too much about your horoscopes, he's probably been ran through. So first up, let's talk about how he treats people that can do really nothing for him. Watch how he talks to waiters, delivery people, service workers. And if he's rude and disrespectful to those types of people, how do you think he's going to treat you when the honeymoon phase wears off? So let's talk about, fast forward the relationship. Because the way he's treating these people will be how he treats you. And I don't care how sweet he is right now. I don't care how many flowers he brings you. If he's mean to the barista that took too long with his coffee, you're seeing his true character. You cannot love someone into being a better person. Trust me, many women have tried that beauty to the beast, or is it beast to the beauty? I don't know. Beast to the beauty, that don't really work. That's not really a thing. I know that's a thing in romance novels, but it is often going to be traumatic in your situation. So if another thing that I want to bring up is, how does he talk about his exes? Let me see if I can get us an amazing sticker here. How does he talk about his ex? Because let's imagine this, and this is a big one. If all of his exes are so crazy, she was so psycho, all my exes were so toxic, really, all of them. Well, what are the odds? It's like hearing that someone's been in 17 car accidents. It's like, eventually we got to be like, are you the problem? At some point, we need to examine the common theme. And when a man tells you every woman in his past was a problem, he's essentially giving you a preview of what's to come. And guess what story he's going to tell about you if you end up leaving? Well, spoiler alert, you're going to be the crazy one. Congratulations, you just joined the crazy club. And you do not want to be a member of the crazy club. And here's one thing that is absolutely going to save you years of your time. If he cannot keep his word, if he says he'll call you, if he promises to take you somewhere and cancels it. Now, I want to make a quick differentiation here. A lot of guys will kind of pontificate about the future. That's a little different. I'm talking about he's promising to do things. He locks in the thing and then he cancels it. He agrees to help you move and then he suddenly gets food poisoning. He agrees to go to your mother's party and suddenly gets food poisoning. Oh, how convenient. It's amazing how these mysterious illnesses and these mysterious work obligations always seem to pop up when you really need him. Because a man that will do things for you, he is showing how much he cares about you. A man is often shown by the actions that he does for you, how much he cares. Words are cheap, actions are expensive. This isn't about being busy. This is about respect. Can he keep small promises? Is he going to keep big things like commitment, marriage, being a father? Fast forward this relationship. Again, fast forward. Is this guy going to be sticking around? Do we like this guy? Or is he going to be an absolute nightmare? So I always like to give you guys some exercises you can do. So a question you can ask is, how does he treat people when he thinks that nobody's watching? Because, honey, eventually you won't be important enough for that performance either. The mask will come off and he will reveal his true colors. So let's talk about priority problems. And I'm going to switch up the color of my pen because I'm going to be a fancy boy. So now let's talk about red flags that show you where you rank in his life. And spoiler alert, you're probably not exactly where you want to be. So let's start with the biggest one. He's broke. He's broke. And I got nothing against the broke boys. I feel bad for the broke boys. They got to get their money up. But they don't need to necessarily get their money up on your accord. Because if he's broke and he's got no plans to change it, listen, I'm not talking about the guy in medical school or law school who's investing in his future, who's a good bet. I'm talking about the 35-year-old who's just still trying to get his music career off the ground while living with 3 roommates and asking you to split the bill at Cheesecake Factory. And side note, do people still go to Cheesecake Factory? Is that a thing? Comment down below. I'm curious. I don't know if people still eat there. But here is the harsh reality. Broke men make different decisions than financially stable men. And you want somebody that's financially stable. This isn't like being superficial. Superficial. Is that even a word? This isn't about being superficial. This is about providing for your life. Let's imagine you want to have children in the future. Who's going to pay for those kids? Is he going to have you do a pregnancy, care for the kids, and then go work? If he cannot plan for the future, if he cannot support a family, you need to recognize this early, because you're not a terrible person for wanting a financially stable relationship. Most relationships devolve over financial stability, and you're just being realistic about wanting to build a life together. So no offense to the broke boys, but do not be investing in that. It is going to make your life miserable. Let's talk about another major red flag in this category. It's he's always too busy for you, but somehow he has time to post on social media. He can't text you back for hours, but he's liking other girls' Instagram photos and posting stories about his breakfast. Amazing priorities, really. Does he not use the Does he not use the bathroom at work? Like, he can't send you one text message and be like, bloop, bloop, bloop. Nope, that's too much for him. And this isn't just about being busy. It's about you not being a priority in his life. And if you're not important enough for a text back, you're definitely not important enough for a relationship. And this inconsistency in communication will absolutely hurt your life. And it's not just about being like, oh, I want him to text me back every hour, which, hey, everyone's got a job. But if he's not texting you back every 12 hours, heck, if he's not texting you back every 72 hours, that is insanity. That is crazy. And let's go into another one in this priority problem. It is all too common, and that he doesn't ask you questions about yourself. All convos are so surface level. It's like you know a lot about him, but he just never seems to ask you about yourself. He knows you know everything about his job, his family, his dreams, his problems, his childhood trauma, but he knows almost nothing about you. He's keeping all combos very surface level. This is something that shows he really doesn't care about you, because if somebody cares about you, they will ask you questions. Curiosity is something so important and so innate in people that if they're not asking you any questions, how much do they really care about you? Now, number 3, this really builds off the last one, and this is comms issues. I'm just going to be a cool kid and I'm going to write comms issues. So let's talk about communication red flags, because this is where so many people are making excuses where there's no room for excuses. Inconsistent communication, I swear, will drive you mad. He texts you all day Monday, disappears Tuesday and Wednesday, then acts like nothing happened Thursday. Okay, what's going on here? You cannot build something real with someone you can't count on. Consistency isn't romantic. It's the foundation of trust. All right, so let's just imagine something bad happens, you have to go to the hospital, and you mark him down as your emergency contact. Is this guy actually going to be around when you need him most? That is something so important and so underrated in the potential future partner. Now let's talk about one more that comes into this comms issues bucket, and this is being secretive. Now, I'm not advocating snooping in people's phones. Everyone deserves their own special place. But I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was saying one of the most important things is that you guys would have trust to share passwords, share people's space. Maybe you don't want him looking at your ChatGPT logs. Fair enough. But can you look through his phone? Can you look through his social media? And there be no issues. A person that is overly secretive won't let you see their phone, especially if you've been dating them for a very long time. That is super odd. Another one is they won't post photos of you. All right, this person's on Instagram all the time, or they're always online, but they don't want to claim you as yours. He won't add you to social media after months of dating. That is very suspicious, because usually that means this guy has a roster. Because what is he really hiding? He's hiding you from the rest of the world. And if he's really serious about you, he wants to let them know. A man that really likes a woman, he's trying to show her off, because a woman is a representation of him and how he comes into the world. So a man that doesn't want to show you off is very suspicious. And here's one of the most heartbreaking ones. It's when he pushes your boundaries. When he pushes your boundaries, it's so disrespectful. When he's calling you, who are you with? What are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. Nothing wrong with knowing where people are at and what they're up to, but is he doing it in a way that feels very accusatory? Is he doing it in a way that feels like he's trying to pry into your personal space? Can you not just go to book club with the girls? That's a very bad person. This is somebody that doesn't have a lot of emotional maturity. And this is someone you really do not want, because we talked about financial compatibility, and that is one of the biggest things that devolves relationships. But emotional, being able to talk out issues, being able to have a conversation, have an argument in a way that is wholesome, healthy, and actually advances the relationship, if he doesn't have the capacity for that, and hey, let's admit, most guys are going to be lagging 5 to 6 years emotionally behind women. They're not often talking about their feelings, but if he cannot adjust and grow in the situation, you're going to be in a very difficult spot. And I want to highlight one more in here, and that is, we talked about him not asking you a lot of questions. Now there's another type of guy, and we're gonna get into this in the bonus section. He's a guy that learns so much about you, learns what makes you tick, learns your dark secrets. the things that make you feel incredibly self-conscious and uses that against you in arguments. Somebody that brings up things that make you self-conscious. Maybe it was the relationship with your mother. Maybe it was your father not being around. Maybe it was just how your nose appears and you being very self-conscious about that. If he brings that up in an argument in an attempt to hurt your feelings, this is a man that doesn't truly care about you. That is something so manipulative. So let's get down into the bonus. And this is the stuff like walk, don't run if you see these things. So let's talk manipulation. Unfortunately, YouTube's probably not going to like this video very much. So let's talk about things that they will do to mess with your head. And these are things that they do to push your boundaries. So let's talk about love bombing. Love bombing is so dangerous, and it's something you have to recognize. And it's very difficult to recognize it because you're like, wait, how do I know whether it's genuine interest or he's just love bombing me? So let's talk about love bombing. So I'm going to talk about two specific tactics. One is the marathon date. The marathon date is a date that lasts for around like 5 to 6 hours. So this is when you go on a first date with somebody and they will bounce you from different locations. So you go to one bar, you'll go to an ice cream shop, you'll do this, you'll grab pizza, you'll do this, and you're spending the entire day with them. And you're like, whoa, this feels so amazing. I feel like I know him so well. Maybe I should go back to his apartment. And that's what he's really hoping. He's trying to close the intimacy gap. He's trying to be like, oh yeah, we do know each other so well. I should go back to his apartment. And then if you do, this person usually disappears. And then the second tactic that people use is they do not close on the marathon date. I call this date stacking. And you have to watch out for this one as well because it's so manipulative and it's something that is so difficult to differentiate from genuine interest. Date stacking is when he does not close on the marathon date and he says, I was so close, my precious. I'll take her on a second date. So what he'll do is he'll schedule another date for the next day or very shortly after, and he's trying to see whether he can close the intimacy deal. Now, one thing to watch out for, and we talked about this in some of the other red flags, is that you need to watch out. Does this guy actually care about you? Is he learning about your goals, your passions, your hobbies? Or is everything super surface level? We need to be able to differentiate the genuine interest from how quickly can he get you into doing the fun parts. Because a guy that is so focused on ROI, is so focused on, how do I get her back to my apartment? This guy does not really care, and he's usually an incredible player. So we talked about love bombing. Now let's talk about hot and cold treatment. This is something that is so frustrating. Let's go hot and cold treatment. So this is somebody, and it's very similar to love bombing. So what they'll do is they'll play essentially attention games because many people want to feel validated. They want to feel attention. So what happens is they will increase the comms. So they'll increase the communication. They'll call you every single night. They'll tell you, they see a future with you. And then suddenly, cold, distant, barely texting, and you're confused because you're like, wait, things were going so well. And this hot and cold cycle, if we can draw kind of like an energy graph, right? So let's call it like energy here, call it time. A normal relationship, it kind of oscillates, but it's not a roller coaster like the craziness. Now, a lot of people, what happens, and I can't believe that just deleted all my text, is they will get addicted to the feeling of being like, wow, do I really even like him or do I like this emotional variability? Because these toxic relationships can be incredibly exciting, but exciting for the long way because love ultimately is a choice. And if somebody is just spiking your emotions, pulling back their attention, it makes you chase them. And it's something that creates this kind of like trauma bond that you must watch out for because it will start to make you chase him instead of the other way around. And that's exactly what he wants. So let's talk about another technique that people will use, especially narcissists. So another manipulation tactic is really him trying to get you to be open and vulnerable. And we talked about this in the last section, is he's trying to learn way too much about you. He's trying to figure out what your vulnerabilities are. Vulnerabilities. And these people are often very charismatic, that they can make you feel like, wow, I've never met someone like this in my life. They really make me open up. They really make me understand. And he'll learn your vulnerabilities. He will also learn about your family dynamic, your friends. He will learn the friend that is kind of not your best friend. And he will slowly start. So let's imagine this is like Sarah. This is you. I'm going to be cool and put you, and this is him, right? He will slowly start to try to eat away at your relationships with these people. Because the more he alienates you from support structures like your family or friends, is the easier it is for him to manipulate you. And these are some of the most diabolical tactics because when a guy has alienated you from everyone that you love, it makes it very difficult. These situations where your friend can kind of see you're in a bad spot, but you can't see it because you're so wrapped up in the emotions of the situation, but you can look at a relationship and you're like, there's something wrong there. There's something devastatingly wrong about this relationship. When you do not have those social support structures, when he knocks them out, it's a very difficult situation to be in. And then let's go into the final one. Let's talk about gaslighting. And this is a person that is just so manipulative that They will make you feel crazy. You start noticing things. Why is he doing this? Oh, hey, his stories aren't really lining up. And you bring it to his attention. You try to be open and honest with the communication. And he's just like making you question every single thing that happened. He's changing his stories. He's making it seem like, oh, you actually don't know what you're talking about. And it is psychological manipulation. You must watch out for these things. All right. So we went over 3 categories of red flags. Let's get a little summary here so we can help you out and help you remember. I always want people to come away from here and be like, I learned a ton. Okay, so 1 is the character problems. The 3 is the comms problems. And the 2 was the priority problems. And that one is a horrible one as well. And then we talked about minute tactics. All right. Okay, so now you understand a lot more about these different categories that you have to watch out for. And here's what I want you to remember. These red flags, they're not suggestions, they're warnings. And ignoring them doesn't make you optimistic. It doesn't say, oh, well, I'm just investing in love here. It makes you a volunteer for heartbreak. And I do not want to blame you because these things are so scary. They're so difficult to recognize when you're in this situation. That's why I need you to internalize these 3 to 4 categories, because the right man, he won't have a ton of red flags that you need to ignore. He'll have green flags that you will want to celebrate. And maybe he will not seem as exciting as the person that's constantly spiking your emotions, but his character will be solid. His priorities will include you, and his communication will be consistent. He doesn't need to manipulate you for you to be around. So I want you to stop making excuses for these guys. Your standards aren't too high. You're protecting yourself from wasted time on the wrong person. And I want to give you one final warning. It's easy for me to sit at the fancy desk with my iPad and tell you everything under the sun is a red flag. And some things that truly are genuinely yellow flags. Open and honest communication can resolve so many of these problems, but we need to recognize the difference between the fun part of dating and the exciting part of dating versus the scary parts of dating.